Have we received more interwebs for our stream?
Oh, hey, we're back.
Ah,
Hey, sorry about that, everyone. We'll give a minute for the viewership to get back up, so we can keep talking about things.
Yeah, I thought that
like
was
human.
my,
How such a great word.
We're back.
Yeah.
We're back.
I thought that was
Um,
my ISP because we've been having some spectrum issues here. The whole neighborhood's been going out of internet because of good old Spectrum.
Bye off screen, Philip.
So I think it looks to be pretty solid right now. I think we're back. Yay.
Yeah. Well, at
Okay,
least.
so we were talking about model overwhelm and then how to get through them in an orderly manner so you can eventually get more models.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to tackle it. Chris Miller brought up a good point. Pay someone to paint them.
Yeah.
In all honesty, if the hobby aspect is not your favorite part of it, and so these hobbies are for your enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
And that's something to always keep in mind when you're doing stuff. So if painting is not what you enjoy out of the hobby, and you dread hitting the painting table, get someone else to do it.
That's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. And so, but if hobby is something that you like and you just kind of like go in and out of liking painting, then in all honesty, don't worry about it. Paint when you can, right? It's not your job. It's the thing that you do to enjoy. So do it when you enjoy it. I know that sounds counterintuitive to what we're saying. Like that might take you forever to paint models, but in the end, you'll get more enjoyment out of it.
Mhm.
Now, on that note as well, there's a lot of people who are like, I can't play with unpainted models, right? Like, my enjoyment is from fielding a fully painted army and seeing my opponents fully painted.
Yeah.
And so what that means is buckling down and doing the painting, right?
And getting an
So,
airbrush.
yeah, a couple different
Speed.
ways to tackle that when you decide, hey, I do get an hobby, or you need to have it painted. And it is like, I know that feeling. Like I feel awful when I have an unfinished model on the table. I do enjoy paint burnout, right?
That's what I hit so often.
Yeah. So a couple different ways I tackle that. One, I either pick a model and paint it nice, and then I see that nice, beautiful model and be like, man, I can keep doing that. I can keep having all these armies look great, and that's motivation to keep myself forward, and it keeps me going. Other things I do, and depending on the amount of models I need to tackle, I will do a step at the time and get it done. My favorite thing to do is to base coat color a model. Like so, my new Khador that I'm doing is going to be predominantly shiny black, non-metallic, or like non-metallic metal black.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I would prime the model black.
Mhm.
And so that's technically my base coat. I would probably hit it with like an airbrush black or like just do like a paint on. But then the first step I would do to making me feel more inclined to keep going back to the model is come in, do the base colors on the bases themselves, like finish the bases first.
Yeah.
I know that seems weird, but once again, it grounds, literally and figuratively, it grounds my model, and it also makes me feel more finished about the job. Like I can go and get that base done. So once again, colored and base coated.
I'm the example complaint that I'll have models that are fully painted with nothing on the base.
Yeah. So I like having that base, and especially like if you're going with a game like War Machine, you can get the marked on it, and you can get the terrain set and all that. And it makes it feel at least close enough, or like close to the finish. And once again, I can do a step each time I see it, and especially if I'm doing like more of a tabletop's ready army or a tabletop closer to standard, blocking in like steps. Like so, I base coated all the black. Then the next step I would do is I would probably come in and then block in the reds on the army, because that would be the next step, or the metallics. And at that point, I can go back, do the metallics. The model looks more done. Kind of clean up the black portions of the armor if I like hit with some metals or like the reds while I'm doing that, And then finally, I'll start doing like the fun steps, which are going to be like adding those like shading and highlighting effects to the model.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna need to do that. That sounds good.
My usual go-to method is get the base coat on there, be real sloppy with it, like not like where I am, throw up a little in my mouth because I'm disgusted with my work.
Yeah.
Then force myself to like clean up, like get the colors where they need to be. And a lot of times what actually motivates me is throwing a wash on there, letting that dry and coming back to it, like, all right, that made some of the detail pop. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and that's important. Chris Miller, once again, Chris Miller is a good and long-time friend. Also, I have paid him to paint several models, and I've always been astounded with his work.
That's amazing stuff.
But he makes a really important thing. If you set an hour aside a day to do some painting, that's enough to get a step done. That's enough to do like a highlight or something fancy, and then you realize like that's not my entire night. That's not my entire day.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back later and do something else, or like next day keep working on it, and slowly going from the great way. It helps strengthen your willpower. One of my favorite artists, he does a lot of like the card art for Magic or like movie posters and things like that. But he says willpower is like any other muscle. You have to work it out, you know? And that's the thing. And especially since he's a professional artist, he's got to draw for a living. He has to have that willpower. He can't have days where he doesn't feel inspired, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what he does is he sets those micro goals. He sets those things to say, hey, I'm going to paint an hour a day, just like going to the gym, right?
Yeah,
like, you know,
that's true.
2 weeks and it becomes a routine, right? So you say like Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to set aside an hour each day to paint. And you'll be surprised on how much work you can get done in that hour and how quickly those models. Because when you you have a tendency to speed yourself up with that, and especially with a goal in mind. You're like, okay, I need to block in color, like all the browns on this model.
Yeah.
And so you're going to push yourself a little bit harder to get all that done in an hour, as opposed to where you're like, I'll just kind of finish it when I finish it. So that's really important. And when you keep doing that, you build up that willpower, and you won't even think about like painting being a hassle anymore.
Yeah.
It'll just be, hey, I get to paint now, like, or hey, I get to see this progress done on my models.
I find it a lot easier to paint not at home.
Yeah, and that's an important thing too.
In the company of others.
Yeah, find a place that you paint more effectively and more efficiently. I actually love the hobby tables here because Mark's right. At home, I have a lot of distractions. I have my computer sitting right there. I have housework to do, but I bring my paints into Gigabytes, and I can just immediately work. I don't have to worry about it. Paint, pack up, go home, and be done for the day. So it is finding everything that works for you and making it a consistent habit. And as the studio painter from Private Press always says, his favorite color is done. So
I like that.
Remember that not everything has to be tabletop standard or even like studio quality. If you finish a model that puts you far ahead anything else, and you keep that in mind, you might not like your paint job at the end of it, but at the end of the day, it's a finished model and you get to play with it on a table, and it just adds to the experience overall. It adds to everyone's experience when you play with a fully painted army. That's something to keep in mind. So I really do like painting.
That's the one that throws
color schemes. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things to do color schemes with. I personally like there's an online like color picker, and you can look at like color schemes.
Oh, really? Is that a company that makes it? Like
no.
Or
no. So it is it's an artist tool. So it gives you everything in like the CMYK codes or the RGB codes.
Okay.
But it gives you whether it's a monotone color scheme,
is it the Adobe one?
A duotone. There's a couple of them out there, and so they can pre-generate color schemes for you. They can also give you like a color wheel where you're like, hey, I want to do a 3-color color scheme.
Yeah.
And you pick what your main color is, and it will show you on the wheel where the other 2 colors in that scheme should be to give you the best results, like the most dramatic.
You have like a Wheel of Fortune thing where you just spin and it just picks your color scheme.
Yeah, no, you can do that. You can have it generate random color schemes. And so it it goes from one color. I think it can go all the way up to like a 5-color color scheme, which is actually great for most armies because a lot of times you're going to have like a primary color, a secondary color, and then you're going to have like a lot of details. And it's something important to think as well when you're painting with colors. Black and white go with everything. So like you can always throw those in, like black and white details, without it contrasting or conflicting with the color that you've laid down before.
Exactly.
So it is picking color schemes. Like you can find a web app, Privateer Press, through the No Quarter Prime publications that we still have a lot of here in the store. They give you alternate color schemes for a lot of different armies, and so that's another great way to find different color schemes. And you don't even have to play War Machine and Hordes. You can just pick up one of those magazines, and it'll show you color schemes that can work for any army out there, right? And it'll also give you the formulas of paint you need to do that. The Citadel Paint app as well will show you a lot of the studio color schemes.
For the longest time, Games Workshop would always release like just little cards, like business card size cards that showed the model painted and the paints required for it on the back of all their boxes. They have the paints used for what you see on the box. So no, Games Workshop has always been like more than happy to like show you what they use. I mean, I don't know why more companies don't do it. But it just seems like a great idea.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where the color scheme should be the smallest roadblock to you, because there's a lot of tools out there to pick it. I know it can be a big one because you can be indecisive. Like you can have all this information available to you, and then it ends up being too many choices, right? But there's a lot of tools out there to at least give you the options to pick to move forward.
Yeah, and something that
it's always important.
If you're more on the beginner side of a painter, there are certain colors that are easier to paint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would always say, hey, new painters, stick away from
yellow, white,
black, and actually red. I would say stick away from red.
Yeah, I had trouble the first time I tried painting red. I was, how is this so hard?
Yeah. And so stick away from those 4 colors as the primary color of your army until you get a little bit better grasp of painting. But things that paint very well for beginners are going to be blues, greens, grays, browns. Like browns are like probably one of the easiest ones to do. And then metallics. Metallics are actually really, really easy for a new player or a new painter because they take to washes very well.
Yeah. So get them Necrons.
Or Stormcast Eternals. Like once again,
the gold.
Yeah, they're golds and blues and all that sort of good stuff. And they have those like white accent, but like it's not too much.
As far as it's more of a creamy white.
Yeah.
So it's like white that borders on brown. So it's not as difficult as going for that. When the people want that crisp, clean white, a lot of times they don't realize that that's not going to be your base. So they'll start with that super white, and then realize, how do I add detail to this? And what they don't realize is you got to have that bluish white first, and then you add on to that with the white.
I always say start with like a nice desaturated blue gray kind of thing.
I'll show you a prime example of what not to be yellow in. So this is very bright. It's basically like a canary yellow, and I should have gone more of like a mustard yellow because I can't actually highlight this.
Yeah.
There's no way for me to highlight this yellow properly. And even though I have a little bit, it just doesn't show up.
I started with mustard yellow.
Yeah.
Averland Sunset is a great start for yellow.
So Army Painter makes actually a wide variety of great sprays, especially for colors that are going to be a little bit harder to paint. They have demonic yellow. So if you want that bright saturated yellow, that's really great for it. They have dragon. Is it dragon red? I can't remember which one. They have a super bright red, which is really great, especially if you're playing Blood Ravens or Blood Angels.
Good to know.
And they have like this whole variety of colored primers that are super, super good. And so a lot of times you can hit the color primer, hit it with a wash, and then they do color matching with all of their paint bottles. So you can just come back and like touch it up and then add a highlight to it. You're pretty much done at that point, especially if you're painting Imperial Fists or anything like that. So, I would definitely check into primers and things like that. Airbrushing saves you a lot of time, but like you can save equal amount of time by just buying like a GW or Citadel model spray or Army Painter colored primer, or any of the other varieties of like spray colors that we have here. Just getting that base coat done, like hit it with the base coat, finish the base at that point, like your army feels like it belongs on a table, at least to me.
Oh yeah.
And then like with a couple extra details and things like that, it keeps getting more and more finished. And eventually you can add all the like techniques and all that. So, and with this, it's hitting 12 to be taken off because the day is starting for us. But thank you guys very much for joining us.
Share the Brother Steve video, the Florence Brother Steve video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you guys are in the wake or way of Florence, please, be safe and yeah. Cool. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.